Articulation as a topic is very close to my heart because I've spent most of my life being extremely inarticulate. I've really struggled a lot with connecting my emotions, my intentions, and my thoughts with what I'm actually saying and how I'm saying it. And that's why music has been such an important thing for me, because to me it's effortless expression. And I feel like I can connect my intentions and my emotions with the notes that I'm writing. So my own journey in realizing my own lacking skills in my verbal abilities and articulation has made me think a lot about music and how to articulate, how to communicate your thoughts and intentions purely musically. The ability of articulation allows you to very precisely explain what it is that you're thinking and doing. And the more articulate you are, the more of a chance you have of actually connecting with whomever is listening or watching you. We all know how frustrating it can be to have a conversation with someone, but you're just not connecting. You are not clearly perceiving the conversation in the context, in a context that would be shared. And in those sort of situations, it's quite likely that either one of you or both of you lack the ability to articulate what you're really trying to say. One of the biggest things that is going to get in the way of your ability to articulate is your lack of empathy. And what that means in this context is that you're either unwilling or incapable of seeing how someone else is going to perceive your music. So we all know the artistic stereotype that says, no one understands my music, no one gets me, I'm ahead of my time, blah 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 blah. The list goes on. We've all heard the story. That's pure lack of empathy. And if you're not interested in figuring out how to speak to people in such a way that speaks to them, then you're gonna lose. So just like verbal communication consists of having an extensive vocabulary, having extensive terminology that's accurate, and being able to manipulate and process language in a creative and structurally sound way, being articulate musically consists of similar types of components. So not only do you have notes and silence and rhythm and melody, you also have instrumentation and different players for each instrument, different ways of recording, mixing, and producing all those instruments. So the vocabulary is extensive, and the more you master all of those levels, from composition to orchestration to arrangement to music production to recording to playing to and so forth, that is going to be not only your alphabet, but it's going to be your vocabulary and your terminology. And then you simply have to be creative with your language, be creative with your musical language, and learn to structure it in a way that's not only creative, but in a way that makes sense to other people. The information needs to be articulated in such a way that it's accessible to other people. And I think ultimately that's why most artists fail, because they're not truly interested in articulating their musical intentions to other people. They simply want an ego wank, so to speak. They want to splurt out their own thing and say, well, if you don't get it, then fuck you, and go do something else. And you can absolutely do that, but if you do it, then you have to accept that a lot of people are gonna say, well, fuck you too, I don't give a shit about your mediocre music. And I think most artists do really care, but it's really scary to admit that you don't have the communicational skills. You don't have the skills that it takes to actually get that message across. And when it doesn't go across, we feel insulted because we put our heart and our soul into it. And it's very personal. And when someone says, I don't like that, of course, if you haven't developed character, if you can't have an ego that is strong but also willing to break and willing to take punches, then you won't ever be in a position where you can get closer and closer to an actual effective exchange with a listener. And that's what we want. We want to connect with the people who the music is made for and people who might enjoy the music. So don't allow your ego to get in the way of that. If people aren't understanding your music, it's more than likely that it's your fault. The other option is that you are truly a genius, far ahead of your time, but it still won't take away the problem that you cannot explain, you cannot articulate to your listeners, either within the music or outside the music verbally, why it is that it is so genius. And if you can't do that, well, then I'd question how much of a genius you actually are. Finished.